Howdy, Amber here with Jalopnik, driving a plethora of Audis today. Right now I'm in the Q7, later I will be in the Q8, the SQ7, and the SQ8. I am not going to make you sit through an individual video on each of those cars, you're welcome, but instead I'm going to be talking about them a bit individually, a bit as a group, and a bit what they mean for Audi as a brand. These are, after all, sort of the top-of-the-line vehicles. Whether 2 or 3 row, these are the biggest options from Audi. They are the top of the line. They are the best of the best until we get an RSQ version. And so they're an interesting look at what Audi prioritizes and where the company is going. So I'm here outside of Park City, Utah, dealing with the hot days, the cold nights, the altitude. This is not an incredibly comfortable state to be in, and yet the Audi Q7 that I'm in now is a welcome respite from that. It is comfortable, it is smooth, it is a nice place to be. This is not a performance model. I'm not in the S trim, I'm not in an RS. This is just a regular car. A regular 3-row for hauling your kids to soccer practice. The Q7 is not plush in the way you might expect from a hyper-luxury vehicle. Think of it more as BMW, right? It's luxury for sure. The interior materials are nice, all of the touch points feel high quality, but there's a performance bent to it. The seats aren't holding me in like an 80s Cadillac. But Audi isn't really positioning this as a performance luxury car. You've got the S and the RS models for that. And Audi as a brand, while it offers performance luxury, isn't really going for that as its positioning. Audi instead has a motto that is very German, and I will very much butcher if I try to say it for you, but it translates to advancement through technology, which is tricky. See, right now, technology in cars is cheap. That's not to say that the Q7 feels cheap. The touch points here are nice. There's a almost BlackBerry Storm level of pressure sensitivity going on in the center dash. There's more here than you get in cheaper cars. But features in terms of technology come cheap. The hardware cost of adding more processors, more screens is not incredibly high. You can look at a Chevy Camaro, a rip in peace, and see the same sort of lighting accents, things like that you'll get in a car like this. So how do you differentiate on tech when tech is cheap? Well, Audi offers in-car Wi-Fi with a 5G connection, but so does Chevy. The company offers connected services for traffic and navigation, but so does everyone at this price point. They offer customizable themes for your wallpaper on your screen and the lighting accents, but they start at $13 each and go up to $18 if you want one themed after your favorite soccer team. So how do you differentiate without feeling like you're nickel and diming the customer? The real advancement through technology comes in places that it's hard to see. Audi has motorized sway bars that can keep the car flat through a corner, which is genuinely an interesting thing to build, an interesting thing to add to a car. But it's hard to talk to the average consumer about that. And even then, that's leaning back into sports. Again, that's an S feature, that's not for taking your kids to soccer practice. The Q7 is a very good crossover. It is capable of everything. It'll haul your kids around, it's comfortable, but it's tough to say that it's a unique crossover. And uniquity in the crossover world is tough to begin with. It's hard to come up with a three-row SUV that is meaningfully better than the competition. It's easier to come up with a three-row SUV that acts meaningfully different from the competition. And it's tough to say that the Q7 does. So that brings us to the Q8. You may have noticed the different interior. We are now in the two-row Sportback, meant to be a little more stylish than the Q7, at the cost of that third row of seating. Now the Q8 does differentiate itself a little more from its competitors. You look at the Cayenne Coupe, you look at, other vehicles like that with the more sloped rear end. This one is more squared off. Audi will tell you that the styling is inspired by some of its rally legends of yore, which you can believe if you have already purchased one of these and want to justify it. But that more squared off rear end does give you a little more cargo space if you're going to fully fill it up than something with a more sloped rear end. Whether or not it shows up like that on the spec sheet, practically this is likely more useful. That also means that visibility out the back isn't nearly as compromised as most vehicles with this sort of styling. You can actually see what's behind you in the rearview mirror. A miracle, I know. Audi told us all about the double-layered acoustically sound glass that's used in the front and the back of this car, which makes it a little surprising how much tire noise I'm hearing when I have Sirius XMU turned down. Shout out to Jenny LSQ. Obviously the Q8 is sportier than the Q7, and I will say I did not notice the same amount of sound in the Q7. But this isn't an S model. This is a daily commuter. Not that the S models aren't, but for this price point, I would like it to be a little quieter. I'm aware that this is a very nice place to spend your time. It is a fantastic cocoon against the outside world. But there are a lot of fantastic cocoons. And there are a lot of fantastic cocoons that have accent lighting, that have customizable features in the center screen that won't cost you $13 for a JPEG. There needs to be more to sell me on this car. As we get into some tighter, twistier canyon roads here, I could tell you that this feels marginally lighter than the Q7, despite having the same wheelbase. I could tell you that the power delivery is fine. Could use a little more low-end grunt and a little more responsive transmission. But that would be judging a fish on its ability to climb a tree. This is not the S model. This is not the true performance variant. It's a style symbol that also happens to be able to take a twisty road a little better than you'd expect. But what's that for? A BMW X5, X7 can do this. Mercedes-Benz can do this. Sure, you might shave a couple tenths off here versus a Benz, but what are you doing? You're not comparing the performance models of each, so clearly this isn't your all-time intent. And of course, if your real intent is speed, you're not buying the biggest SUV a company will sell you, but that's its own thing. So you're not going for the all-out performance option, you're not going for the all-out comfort option. Audi is sort of stuck in the middle here. It almost starts to feel like Audi is Volkswagen Auto Group's Buick. Something that makes sense within the automaker's lineup on its own. Someone starts out driving Volkswagens, gets a little more money, moves up to an Audi, and eventually, once the kids have moved out, they get themselves a shiny new Porsche. But within the greater context of the automotive landscape, the selling points don't seem to be so obvious. Buick sticks around because it is beloved in China. That's why we get Buick here, because the brand name is too recognizable there, too beloved there. Audi might be in a similar situation where it feels like Volkswagen has to do something with the brand, but they're not really sure what to do. This is not a new car. This is a mid-cycle refresh, and you can feel some of the aging here. Some of it is, in fact, good. The turn signal stalks here actually stop up and down, and that's way better than whatever the hell most automakers are doing now. Or it recenters, it's hard to cancel. This is preferable. Sometimes the old ways are better, but in a car whose differentiating feature is technology, it's tough. There isn't, to borrow a phrase from tech speak, a killer app to the Q7 and the Q8. They're just cars. They're good, but lots of cars are good. Why should someone buy these two cars specifically? That's not a question with an easy answer. Maybe, if Audi is very lucky, the S cars later in the day will give us an answer as to what the brand is really for. Which brings us to the SQ7. Still 3 rows, back in the 3-row vehicle, but now we've got a V8 under the hood. Does that engine, though, make a difference? Yes it does. But it's not earth-shattering. This is not a BMW competition pack here. This is an X-Drive 50i. It's more, to be sure, but there's more room to go. And that's why the RS trim exists. The suspension here is upgraded. It will hug the road better. I am leaving it in comfort mode, as car journalists so often do, because dynamic is stiffer than I'd like in a 3-row SUV. With this suspension in comfort, though, this has points in favor of it that a BMW M car does not have. See, BMW in its M SUVs, SAVs, loves to put on just the stiffest suspension you ever did see. It is counterproductive, it is uncomfortable, it is not a good place to be. This, by contrast, it's definitely more aggressive than the Q7, but it's still comfortable. Even in a comfort setting, a BMW X5M, say, is not this compliant. This is a more comfortable way to have a performance crossover. The trade-off, of course, is that you get less performance. I'm not talking about the suspension. You slap the suspension on an M SUV, you'll post the same lap times, I'm sure, unless you're far better at this than anyone who's actually purchasing these. For a 3-row SUV, the SQ7 is performance. It is more... it accelerates better than most. It is more nimble than most, though it still gets a little upset if you do that. It's got something. There's more to this than the Q7. Obviously, there should be. There's a whole extra letter in the name. And obviously, for the extra money, you would expect a little bit more. But it's not just that this offers more features or more performance, it offers more differentiation. That thing we've been talking about this whole time. There is a reason to buy this that there isn't for the Q7. Not to say there's no reason to buy a Q7. If you like the way it looks, you won't end up with a bad car. You won't even end up with a bad car for the price. But here, there is a reason to seek this out over the competition, and that's what the other cars lacked. This has that sort of middle-of-the-road performance that a lot of people want. If I were to have a family of 7 and need to haul them around in a crossover, I would not go for the all-out performance of an M car. I would also not have the money for a Mercedes. I wouldn't have the money for this either, but we're pretending that 7-person family Amber can financially maintain that lifestyle. But the SQ7 has a sales pitch. It doesn't have a sales pitch, it has an elevator pitch, which is that it is more comfortable than a BMW, more performance than a base Q7, and not incredibly expensive relative to the rest of the competition. That may not be for you, but it might be. There is someone for whom this is the right vehicle. Which brings us, finally, to the top of the line, the SQ8. And the last car I'm driving today. It's getting close to dinner time. We're back in the 2-row, but we have that same SQ7 engine under the hood, and some slightly better handling, thanks mostly to a retuned suspension and maybe a small bit to a wider track width. So what does this car, the essentially top of the Audi pantheon at the moment, say about Audi as a brand? Well, this is performance-y, but not full RS performance. It's comfortable, but not Mercedes comfortable, sporty, but not BMW sporty, for what it is. Affordable, comparatively to some of the other automakers. But what is it? It's a weird car, in that there is absolutely nothing weird about it. It's not weirdly anything. It just sort of is. And that speaks, I think, maybe more than anything else today, to Audi. So Audi is going electric, but it's still introducing new internal combustion models. It's going luxury, but it's not all in on it. It's going performance, but it's not all the way there. It's going for tech, but, well, everyone has tech. Audi's isn't standout enough to build an entire badge on. Audi might just be in its awkward teen years. It's figuring out its identity, figuring out what it wants to be when it grows up. And it tried the electric thing, and consumers weren't too big on it, but it might still go back to it in the future. But Audi needs to figure out what it's going to be. The cars are good, but good isn't always enough. It's not always a selling point. Maybe if Audi gets that killer app on here, on the SQ7, on the Q8, on the Q7, that'll be a step toward figuring out that identity. Figuring out why exactly someone should buy an Audi. For more on this and all your car launch, car buying, car review needs, keep your eyes peeled to Jalopnik.